Okay. Can you see the, are we live? Oh, hi. Hi everyone. Welcome back to Golf with Irene. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We all know that I need some emotional regulation work on my golf game. I'm not very good. And I performed a concert for some people from Yale. Just so that I could convince this gentleman to golf with me on the golf course. This is Dr. Marc Brackett, the founder of Yale's Emotional Intelligence Center. I literally went and found the best of the best, because that's what we do here at Golf with Irene. Thank you for agreeing to golf with me today.
You're welcome.
I understand you're not a golfer.
I'm not a golfer, but I am an eager learner.
Ah, perfect. Welcome to Golf with Irene.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. This is actually our second time starting this because I was late for the tee time. The mic transponder stopped working.
That's right.
Full of anxiety. I'm interviewing the founding director of Yale's Center of Emotional Intelligence.
Yep.
As my emotions are exploding, falling apart.
Well, let's think about the strategy that you used.
Okay,
right?
all right.
You did some breathing exercises. You did some self-talk strategies, made it a little humorous, and all based in good research to help you deal with your feelings.
Wow, we're professionals here at Golf with Irene. Beautiful day, isn't it? So these are from the whites, which usually men play from, and then the front tees are up here, which women usually play from.
And where are you trying to get it to go?
To the green, right by that red flag.
Oh, wow.
Can't fix left. That's okay. This is so much fun. I'm learning emotional regulation. Mark is learning why golfers need emotional regulation. So the goal was to get it up on the green. I am way left of the green, but I did it with this fantastic golf sub 70 golf club. Look at that entropy equation engraved in there. Get your custom clubs from sub 70. Emotional intelligence is kind of a new thing, right?
It's been around for like 30 years.
Yeah.
35 years, in research, but it's still like, it's not like other things that have been around for 100 years that people really know about. And most people, when you ask them like, what is emotional intelligence? A lot of people think it's like charisma, and that's not at all what it's about. I use an acronym RULER to describe the skills of emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. So there's 5. The first is recognizing emotions. So like I'm looking at your facial expression right now, your body language, your vocal tone. I'm like, how is Irene feeling? How am I feeling? That's self-awareness, social awareness in terms of recognizing emotions. Then there's understanding of emotions. So where are my feelings coming from? Why do I feel this way? Do I feel this way or do I feel that way? Then there's labeling emotions with the precise words, like am I sad or am I disappointed? Am I angry or am I enraged? Am I happy or am I elated? Am I calm or am I content? Expressing emotions, knowing how and when to express emotions with different people, across contexts and culture. Finally, the big one, which is the topic of this book I just wrote, is regulating emotions. What are the strategies that we do to manage our own emotions and help other people manage theirs?
Well, this is a perfect place to talk about that subject. I feel like a lot of golf is about the regulating because it is not often that your golf shot goes perfect.
Yeah.
Rarely.
You're endlessly disappointed. Oh, come on. That is ridiculous. If I don't get this in, I'm actually walking out of here. Yay!
To the people in the background, we've had some discussion while the transponder had to charge. We talked about vocabulary.
Yep.
And how people generally use, oh, I'm good, I'm angry, I'm sad,
right,
I'm okay. But we as a society have kind of gotten away from having good descriptions of how we're feeling.
Correct.
And that people also sometimes don't recognize what emotion they're actually feeling. They think they're angry, but they're not.
Correct.
So can you give us some more examples on camera of emotions that people kind of mix up in this day and age?
I think, that big category is in the anxiety category.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of people say, I'm stressed, or I'm anxious, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm nervous or afraid, but they don't really know what they're really feeling in that moment. They say one word when they mean something else. So,
and how does that, what are the after effects of that? I assume personally, like you're not able to deal with the emotion properly, but then also if you're around other people and you're expressing that, I'm angry when really you feel injustice of something, it comes down to lack of communication.
well, and it comes down to lack of communication, lack of getting your needs met, and lack of, quote unquote, feeling better. So if you're stressed, the definition of stress is having too many demands and not enough resources. So it's, we get stressed out when we got way too many things on our plate. We don't have the time to get it done. There's nobody there to help us. And we're just stressed. Taking a few deep breaths might help a little bit. Going for a walk might work a little bit, but then you come back and you still have too much stuff on your plate and you didn't get it done. And so for stress, mostly it's about saying, Mark, let's be realistic about what you can accomplish. Or, you got to get help to get things done. Otherwise, the stress doesn't go away. And so a lot of people, I think, would think, oh, I'm going to go to yoga to deal with my stress, which is a good thing to do in general. I do yoga a lot. But for dealing with stress, you probably want to have some really kind of hard conversation with yourself around, do I need to do this or not? And can I get someone to help me out? Because it won't go away, the actual feeling. You just might be kind of extending it. And it might get worse over time if you're like using yoga as an example to deal with stress. If you're overwhelmed, sometimes as a writer or as a person who does a lot of presenting, by the end of the day, I'm just like, my brain is saturated. I just can't think anymore. For me, that feeling of being overwhelmed or drained at the same time, a hot yoga class is the best thing ever. Because it's like, I'm not trying to accomplish anything. I'm just trying to give my brain a rest. And so that's where the meditation, the breathing, or the yoga class might be helpful. Whereas if you're feeling anxious, which is about uncertainty around the future, which is a lot of what people feel these days, like what's going to happen politically, socially, financially, whatever it might be. Taking a walk in nature might help you for a moment, but if you have that brain that's ruminating about something that's always about uncertainty of the future, you might need to use some cognitive strategy and say things like, Mark, you have no control over this. Just like, let it go. Is this going to matter in a year from now or a week from now? Are you supposed to wait for her to?
Yeah, so you wait until people are clear of where you can hit a drive. This season I've been in a slump. I can barely get it 100 yards.
Normally you'd want it to go higher, right?
Yeah. Well, now we're in the road, Mark.
When COVID was here, everybody was anxious about what's going to happen. Places were closing down. People at my center were anxious. And I would say things like, listen, like, I'm not the president of the university. I'm not the CDC. I have no control over when the university is going to kind of open up again. So let's be comfortable living with that uncertainty. What can we do together to just recognize that we have no control over that and still have, be productive and happy? And so that was the conversation I had with my team during those times. My point here is that anxiety and stress and overwhelm and other feelings in that category are discrete, and that when we can understand what we're actually feeling and why we're feeling it, we're going to be better at regulating it.
And you talk a lot about that in your new book, correct? It's coming out in September?
September 16th.
What is the title of this book?
It's a very in-your-face title. It's Dealing with Failing.
And the general premise of this book, because you wrote a different book that describes kind of what emotional intelligence is.
Correct.
And your research behind it. And this book is more of truly how dealing with it, like you were talking about, the breathing exercises. What are some of the other topics in the book?
Just to go backward a little bit, I do think the master strategy is my first book, which is called Permission to Feel, meaning that at the heart of all of the work around emotions, we have to give ourselves and everyone we love, and even the people we don't love that much, permission to feel. And what I mean by that is create the conditions for ourselves and for other people to be their true, full feeling selves. And And my research shows, this is thousands upon thousands of people, that only about a third of us grew up feeling like we had permission to feel. 2/3 of us kind of don't feel like we had anybody who was really a feelings mentor to us when we were young.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first goal in life is to get everyone a feelings mentor.
Yeah.
Because my research shows that people who have that mentor are healthier, happier, more productive, life, better mental health, better physical health, better, higher life satisfaction, deeper purpose and meaning in life. So I think that understanding the emotion system, and being an Uncle Marvin, as I call it, because he was the person who was my savior, is really key. Now, it's not enough, right? Because sometimes you really are freaked out, and sometimes you really are angry, and you're giving yourself permission to feel, but you need more strategies. And so dealing with feeling takes people on a journey, first of unpacking, like, why didn't we learn any of this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it?
Because we don't. I mean,
No.
in my own personal childhood, and I know you've researched thousands of
Mm-hmm.
people, but generally, anyone you meet, I think my cohort of younger people in their 20s or early 30s right now are starting to have this awakening of, like, we didn't have any of this. It's very generalized, and people are using the wrong vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like, one thing is, saying like, oh, I was gaslit
Mm-hmm.
when the term wasn't used properly.
Yeah,
And
right.
so what you're doing is really important so that people can actually learn the correct perspective, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other extreme is when permission to feel, people interpret it as, I can say whatever I want, whenever I want, to whomever I want, however way I want. And that's just not going to help you have good relationships or, get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
There are norms about expressing emotions, and we want to be mindful of those. And a big question to ask yourself is, like, is how I am dealing with my emotions, is how I'm helping other people, helping myself and the other person have well-being, have good relationships, make good decisions, achieve my goals. And that's a good way to kind of check in on it.
There's supposed to be good intention behind the driving force of having the emotional intelligence,
Yes.
so that you're not using it to manipulate.
Or if someone is doing that, if you are emotionally intelligent, you're going to be aware of that manipulation. A lot of people, unfortunately, are gaslit in their lives, starting from early childhood. Like, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too blonde, you're too dark, whatever the hell it is. And none of us are taught early on how to sift through that feedback or that kind of opinion. And I think that's what really creates low self-esteem.
Maybe it's just because I've become more aware of it in my own life, and I'm trying to increase my awareness of it, but there's just so much defensiveness. The world right now, especially in the United States, is very us versus them. Everyone is just so separated. And when there's any discussion to be had where you feel slightly attacked, there's so much defensiveness. And that doesn't allow for intelligent emotional conversation to happen.
Well, what happens is that friction is met with friction, then it just blows up. And so can you take the high road and be like, the way you're talking to me right now, it just isn't working. And I want to hear your perspective. I want to get to know you, but I can't be yelled at. And that goes back to the science of emotions, or approach or avoid phenomenon. That if you are feeling attacked, or you're going to go into fight-flight mode, not learning mode. And so if we can help people recognize that their facial expression, their tone of voice, the words they use are activating people in ways that make them want to approach or avoid things, I think we can make a huge difference in terms of listening and hearing other people's perspectives.
Here you are. So when you chip, you're going to want that same grip that I taught you. The goal of this is to not hit it as hard as you can, but you don't want to stop. Ooh, look at me teaching all the way through. That was very good. You need to aim for, like, right here. Barely tap. Oh, so close. You said that you had an emotional mentor when you were younger. And I know that you mentioned him throughout your books, but can you give us a quick recap on your childhood, your Uncle Marvin, and how you got to where you are today at Yale.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in New Jersey. I had two parents who loved me a lot. I would say neither one of them went to the School of Emotional Intelligence. So my father had a lot of anger and was dysregulated. My mother had a lot of anxiety and was dysregulated. And when I say that, I mean they just, I got hit a lot as a kid. I got yelled at. I got thrown at things at. I got sent to my room. Don't talk, who do you think you are? There was no relationship about emotion. It was more like power over, you disappear.
Obedience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just observing my mother have, what they called back then nervous breakdowns. And at the same time, I have two older brothers, both of whom had some challenges. And by the time I was around 6, I was an only child. Both my brothers had left the home. And my mother was dealing with their challenges, her own challenges, my father too. And so, unfortunately, the person that took care of me a lot was a pedophile. And so I was abused by my parents' close friend for about 5 years.
Wow.
And I never talked about it, never shared it because of the fear and all that stuff. But then magically, when I was around 11, my mother's brother, Uncle Marvin, who happened to be a middle school teacher and also a trumpet player, came into my life and stayed with us one summer. I was suffering. I was getting horrifically bullied in school. I had the lowest self-esteem you can imagine. Had a lot of self-hatred. I had an eating disorder. And all of a sudden, this amazing uncle comes into my life who asks me how I'm feeling and who really cares. And when I share what I'm going through for the first time, he doesn't say, go to your room, or who do you think you are, or I can't handle this. He basically says, we're going to get through this together. And I'll tell you that moment, which is a memory that stands clear in my head, was the moment that I finally felt seen and heard and loved. And I mean, now it's turned into my whole career.
There's a song that I've written called California, and in the chorus it says, I've learned that love is someone who will witness your life. I think that applies to parents, to children, to partners, to just anyone. There's so much power in telling someone, I'm witnessing your journey.
Yeah.
I believe in you as you're on this journey, no matter where you're at. There's so much power in witnessing.
Yeah. And he wasn't afraid of my feelings.
Yeah.
He embraced them and said, listen. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the Uncle Marvin. So I've done research on this. And our Uncle Marvins are not problem solvers. They're not fixers. They're not even the smartest people in the world. They are the people who approach you with non-judgment, with good listening skills, and with empathy.
I feel like we're so immersed in a world of social media where everything's okay and everything's perfect. And if someone is feeling something besides I'm good, I'm okay, we're so uncomfortable with that. So if someone approaches you, or if you ask someone how they're feeling and it is negative in that moment, how can we best deal with that? I mean, listening, but are there other tools we can use when we're having those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I think listening is not just standing by and, it goes in one ear and out the other. You ask the right questions to help people think through their situation more carefully, to let you know that you're really interested in their situation.
Ask why.
You want to be careful about that. You don't want to go too crazy with that. Why? Then it's annoying. Because sometimes you don't know why. I mean, I do think the why is important. I'm just saying you want to be mindful of...
Don't go overboard with the why.
Exactly. Because a lot of people, especially in traumatic situations, they can't really articulate that very quickly. I'll tell you what the barriers are, because I've learned this in my own research too, which is the number one barrier is time. People say, I don't got time to be the Uncle Marvin or the Aunt Maria, which is, I mean, when you really think about that, it's pretty pathetic. A parent saying they don't have time to be their own kid's feelings mentor. But yet, and the fear is kind of also related to people not having dealt with their own issues. So I can't deal with my kids' anxiety. I've never dealt with my own anxiety. And that relates to the third one, which is the skill. People are like, I never learned any strategies. This is why I wrote my next book, because people are like, give me the strategies to be the Uncle Marvin. I get the non-judgment, the compassion, the good listening. But I need to be able to handle my emotions when I hear what my kid is going through. And I'm not really capable of doing that. And I need to be able to at least provide some suggestions or kind of guidance.
Of how my own child can deal with
Yeah.
this.
And if you don't know any strategies, it's hard to be kind of a good listener because you don't know how to help people think about options for themselves.
I've done some reading on this, like the parasympathetic nervous system, and
Yep.
like the way that our nervous system works, because that generally goes into the breathing techniques.
I mean, our nervous system is an important system to deal with because it gets activated, and when our nervous system gets activated, that's when certain neurochemicals get released that make it hard for us to find strategies, that make it hard for us to be present. And so we need to learn how to downregulate the intense emotions first before we can oftentimes use the more cognitive or relational strategies. It's hard to be, like, you ever notice if you're really, really pissed at your husband?
And
Like,
my golf swing.
or like what you say.
Yeah.
It's not usually like, honey, can we talk about it? It's like, in your mind, you're like, I want to annihilate you. And that's just the way it works because it's like you want to just eliminate the stressor.
Yep.
And so we need to be able to bring the temperature down, calm the nervous system down, so that the areas of our brain that are responsible for helping us think critically about what to do are available to us. I call that the necessary but insufficient strategy.
Okay.
It's like, it's not the answer to all of life's problems, but it's a big one.
Yeah.
And then, other strategies include learning how to shift your thinking. You got to shift your thinking.
And that's work.
It is a lot of work.
It is work to change your perspective on the world or the way that you think. Because, okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, how we build our emotions is through affect?
Well, affect we'll call that the larger kind of like area of emotional awareness.
Can you walk me through the building of emotions itself and those vocabulary terms?
Yeah. So think of an emotion as a mostly automatic response to a stimulus. I mean, we'll keep it that simple for a minute. Here today, right? All of a sudden, mic's not working. Trigger, right? You expected things to go one way, and all of a sudden, the situation shifts. Boom, that's an emotion that gets evoked.
Yeah.
For you, it was frustration, anger, disappointment, all the above. And so that's an emotion is a response to a stimulus that causes us to have shifts in our thinking, shifts in our physiology, shifts in our expressions and our behavior. That, importantly, is usually short-lived, right? You don't feel the same anger and frustration as you did an hour ago. Am I right? It's just so you have to know that emotions are temporary, which is really like a blessing to have that knowledge. Like when you know that, like, Mark, like the anger you have right now about whatever it is, like yesterday my coffee grinder didn't work, and I was already blaming my husband for it, like, you didn't use it properly, and I went through a whole thing, right? And it was like I couldn't get it to work. Again, not a huge problem in life, but for that moment, since you had brought us coffee, which was amazing, I wanted to be able to grind the coffee you gave, and we couldn't get it to work. Now today, am I going to go back home today and be like, can you believe that yesterday, that fucking grinder? Like, no, because it's like, honestly, I got bigger things in life to worry about than the freaking grinder. But in that moment, it's a strong, intense feeling. It's like a toothache that's never going to go away. And I think what happens, interestingly, is that in those moments, we fail to recognize that tomorrow, this is not going to matter so much. So we react in a way that's like survival, and I hate you, and everything you've done since I met you has been a disaster, and I can't believe we're still together, all over the freaking grinder. And then the next day, you step back and you're like,
it's
really?
coffee.
Like, that's what I spent a half hour wasting my time, ruminating and yelling and screaming about why everything my partner touches breaks. Which is not true. Like, that's the point. So the impermanence of emotions is a beautiful thing to recognize because they are impermanent. They don't feel that way in the moment. And importantly, all of the ways we respond to these feeling states are rooted in our development. So I had a father who was just like I was. My father, Diane, for crying out loud. I mean, he would just, no matter what, he would get activated, and it would be over the dumbest things. And then he would overreact, and then my mother would get defensive. She would leave the room. She would lock herself in her room. I would be told to go to my room, and then nobody spoke. And
Isolation.
craziness.
Yeah.
And all over something stupid. Now, I did have a little bit of a reaction, but you were there, you witnessed it. I modulated.
It made me feel more human, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it. Even the director of the Center of Emotional Intelligence has emotions hit him.
Yeah, and then we had this great event at our home, and I'm like, it was intentionally an outdoor event, and then everybody's in my house. I'm like, get out of my house. But then I'm like, Mark, like, who cares? Like, what, like, whatever. It's,
That's fun.
And so, like, I mean,
you
life
did well. I couldn't even tell.
Yeah, and it was fine. But the point is that, like, life is this roller coaster ride. I wanted to get back to our responses to our emotions are not inborn.
Mm-hmm.
They are learned. And that's so important. So, for example, my mother had a phrase that she always said when I was young. I'm going to have a breakdown. That's what no matter what. Like, and so.
She was expecting it always.
Yeah.
And
it was just sort of like, I'm not going to be able to deal with my feelings. So my go-to response is, I'm not going to be able to handle this. I'm going to have a breakdown. I'm going to lock myself in my room, and I'm going to ruminate and cry and feel sorry for myself and my family. And like that's no way to get through life. I can tell you that. And I feel terrible that my mother really never learned healthy strategies.
Yep.
However, I did observe that for a lot of my childhood. And there are times when, I'm overwhelmed, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to have a breakdown. And I'm like, Mark, you're not going to have a breakdown. That's your mother talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so recognizing that a lot of our patterns for unhealthy regulation are formed in our childhood, in our early years, by observing parents, social media people, teachers, peers, and just like, I think it's a beautiful thing to just like notice and say, that's interesting. So since I learned that way, that means I can also unlearn that way and learn another way.
And that's the work, right?
Yes.
Because that's the changing of the perspective. Because we were
Correct.
talking about how our emotions built, and like, through these experiences, sometimes I feel like, I don't know, there's this connotation that what you talked about. Oh, the work is, I need to go to yoga. I need to lose weight.
And that's part of the work.
Yes, it's all involved in it. But a lot of times the work is in recognizing and shifting perspective. Whether
that is a big piece of it.
Putting like time into perspective, like, does this really matter right now? Or, my parents did this. This is where I learned this. And then working through that to have that self-control of like, I see this and I'm going to work to put it into the right perspective so that I can react.
And it doesn't mean that you suppress your feelings. It's that we're responding to those emotions in ways that help us keep the relationships we want and have good well-being.
All right, nice and calm, babe.
Nice and calm.
Oh boy. How are we feeling?
I feel frustrated. I have not had a good drive in 2 months.
So is life. But what I was going to say a minute ago that you made me think about is that, like, in the ideal situation, right, we change the world around us. Like, everything is just perfect. Like, everybody wakes up when we want them to wake up. Everybody does what we want them to do. The dogs bark when we want them to bark and don't bark when we don't want them to bark. And so, like, ideally we have control, but we don't.
Yeah.
And when things go awry, it's really good to have relationships, the Uncle Marvins in our lives, because you need to be able to talk with someone and have a conversation so that you can have someone help you think through it. Because we need people to help us gain perspective. But there are times, like when you are on stage and you're singing a song, and all of a sudden you see some in the audience make a weird facial expression, or you get triggered by your own song and you're having a strong feeling and you can't change the situation. There's no one to talk to about it. You got to just sort of say, like, you got to talk to it, Irene. Let it go. It's one person out of 300. Who cares what they feel? Like, everybody else is on your bus. Keep going. But we have to be able to do that stuff in our heads. So it's usually like, change the situation, find someone to help you talk through it, or shift your thinking.
I love that. One time had a show where we were in this intimate moment, and the front half of the listening room was probably like 70 to 80 people that like locked in.
Mm-hmm.
This one guy comes in the back. I'm in the middle of singing this beautiful line that says, "Love is foreign, I always kill it." It's like this most vulnerable moment of the song, and this guy comes in and he says, "Can I get a shot of Malort?"
Yeah.
Like, Malort, of all things. I'm from Chicago. Like, Malort's a thing. But I called him out, and it was kind of a funny moment. I made it comedy, and like so people could laugh about it. And then I was like, it's all right. We hope you have a good time and whatever. But I reflected on it later and was like, what are the appropriate moments of like, because I have a microphone and I have power to voice things. And I was like, all right, I need to put into perspective my self-control when I'm on a microphone to just let some things go.
Yeah. Or make a joke about it. I mean, humor is a great strategy. Distraction is a great strategy. Ignoring things that are not relevant and important, like you say, whatever, like let this guy move on. You're like,
let it go.
Let it go.
Mm-hmm. All right, I feel like this is a pitching wedge out.
At least you only hit the bag, not the person. Did you see it bounce off the bag?
I did.
In terms of like emotion regulation, first you got to believe it matters. A lot of people don't even think it matters. You got to build the vocabulary. That's kind of permission to feel stuff. Mm-hmm. Then there's the breathing exercises. Then there's the cognitive strategies. Then there's the relationship strategies.
Oh, please talk more about that. Yeah.
So it's being the Uncle Marvin. It's being the friend. It's helping people think through the situation, asking good questions. It's recognizing that the mere presence of someone that we admire has a calming effect on our nervous system.
That's but like a co-regulation.
Yes, exactly.
Thing. Yeah.
And then I think something that people don't talk enough about is the biology of regulation in terms of our nutrition, our sleep, and exercise. So all of those things have a direct impact on emotion regulation skill.
And so this is all science that you've studied at the center?
I haven't done all the research because it's like
8,000 studies.
Everything, yeah. Or 80,000 studies.
But the center has done...
The center's done hundreds, but then, we borrow from people who are experts in these different domains. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty clear, that your nutrition, you need, as you said, emotion regulation is effortful. And so if you don't have the energy to regulate, you're not going to regulate. It's why parents say, I'm tired, and like, now you want me to deal with my kid? I'm like, you need to think about that in the morning. Like, are you expending, how much energy are you expending? What are you doing to rejuvenate before you get back in the house at the end of the day so you can be the best self?
It's work to make sure that you're eating properly. It's work to try to get 30 minutes of walking or some sort of exercise. So if we could go back for just a second, you were told that you would never get into Yale. Mm-hmm. You ended up getting your education and passionately pursuing this, and then you started a Center of Emotional Intelligence at Yale.
Correct.
So what now? You're releasing this book, and then I'm assuming you're going on a book tour, but where do you go from here, and what is your vision of the world when emotional intelligence is more integrated into society? What's your dream? Where are you going?
Well, of course, I'm working on my third book now. It's a bit of a storytelling book of people sharing with me about their Uncle Marvins.
I love that.
And really being very clear about developing the skills to be the Uncle Marvin. And I think that people really need some support in developing those listening skills, developing that ability to be present, developing that ability to show in their compassion and empathy, and the non-judgment piece, I think, is really, really hard for people. But my vision, really, to be very blunt, is to make emotional intelligence a required part of our education system so that every child in every school across the United States and the world gets a culturally responsive approach to teaching the skills, to learning the skills of recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotions from preschool until they go to college. And so if you think about learning what it means to feel angry in kindergarten versus 3rd grade versus 5th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, 12th grade, it's a different experience.
It's different because you're going through, hormones, teenage, like...
Right, your cognitive skills change, your social skills change, what's happening in your life changes.
A scaled curriculum in schools for kids to learn
That's
about
true.
their emotions
And that's what
as
I have.
they're growing up.
I mean, I have that, and my program is called Ruler.
Yep.
No pun intended. And it is now currently in 5,000 schools across the United States and in 33 other countries. But that's only 5,000 schools. I want,
the whole
50,000 schools in America.
Incredible. So is that what your team is really
Yes.
working on at Yale, is
Yes.
integrating this system into other schools? So,
Yes.
okay, if there are educators watching and they're interested in this program, how do they get in contact? How do they participate?
I think the easiest thing is to go to my own website, which is Marc Brackett, M-A-R-C, Brackett, BRACKETT.com. You can learn about the books. You can learn about free apps that I built. So there's an app I built that helps people build emotional self-awareness. I built that with the co-founder of the company Pinterest and our respective teams. It's really beautiful and helpful. It's called How We Feel. Again, Android, iOS, free forever. You can also learn about my research and then learn about the center, and also Ruler, which is the program that is for leaders, teachers, students, and families. I do a lot of public speaking. Sometimes people might feel bad after hearing me speak because they feel like, oh gosh, I never got this education. Maybe that's why my relationships stink, or maybe that's why I'm not making good decisions, or I'm not achieving my goals in life. And I think what's important, A, in those moments, recognize they're impermanent, but B, more importantly, is that at some point in our lives, we have to give ourselves that permission to feel. We have to look in the mirror and not be so freaking judgmental. We have to listen, to ourselves and pay attention to our feelings. And we have to approach it all with empathy and compassion. And when we do that, I think amazing things happen. And secondly, we have to pay it forward. Mm-hmm. And so someone once asked me in one of my talks, Mark, for whom are you and Uncle Marvin? And I was like, ooh, I like to do the research. This is hard work in the real world. And I just want to say that there are incredible benefits from showing up for other people as an Uncle Marvin. When you give the gift of non-judgment, give the gift of listening, and give the gift of empathy, people change in front of you. You can viscerally see the shift in the way they feel. And what's important about that is that when you witness that, you as the giver of permission to feel, it has this reciprocal effect. The reward is incredible. So, the givers are also the receivers.
Well, thank you very much for your time today and for your patience.
Yeah.
I really think that everything that you've talked about has so much crossover with the golfing world.
Oh, come on.
Nope. See?
This is like the most ridiculous game. How many times does it take to get the ball in the hole when you're only 3 inches away?
That's golf. You've been such a giver to us this weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to following your work.
Thank you.
And shouting it to the whole world, because I
that.
think that emotional intelligence is so valuable and needed. Perfect. I'll shake your hand, good sir.
Thank you.
Wonderful game.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sub 70, for sponsoring this. Thank you to Fenwick Golf Course. This is gorgeous out here. This has been Golf with Irene. I'll see you on the green.